Thank you so much for being here.
Well, Larry, thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you for building such an amazing community. I just heard you have over 5 million members, so that's a remarkable achievement. So please give a big round of applause to Derek and his team.
Thank you so much. I want to start with first this idea that, I mean, of all people to get into venture capital and to sort of rise to the very, very top, to be the #1 angel investor in the world, how did this happen? Is this, when you were born, did you come out and say, hey, I want to fund companies?
Yeah. Well, talking about Pear, as you mentioned, we just raised a fourth fund, which is $432 million. Pear is a pre-seed and seed specialist. That means we partner with you at the earliest stage when you have an idea or prototype, and we help you get to product market fit. And our investment team have started and sold 10 companies, and we have a platform for recruiting, go-to-market, and we opened a Pear Studio as a 30,000 square foot office in San Francisco. But no, I actually, I wrote a blog a few years ago that I'm the most unlikely tech venture capitalist, and we can talk about it, but I never planned to be a venture capitalist. It's just a pure luck and being at the right time and meeting the right people.
What originally drew you to being in it? Well, let's step back just a second here. How did you get to Silicon Valley? How did you, what was your sort of first foray into tech?
I think you have a picture here. This one, actually the one, this one, I realized this morning, this picture was taken 633 steps from here.
Wow.
Because it's at the end of the street, there's a yogurt shop, and I was sleeping on the street, I was sleeping in my car, and I was working in this yogurt shop called Yogurt Delight. It's not anymore. I look at the map, and it was 0.3 miles, and I calculated 0.3 miles is like 633 steps. Wow. Anyway, I begged the owner of the yogurt shop to let me sleep in this attic, and it's real attic. Imagine you live above a ceiling and no air, no windows. But let me go back a little bit before that. I grew up in Iran. I was 10 years old when revolution happened, and then 2 years after, the war with Iran and Iraq happened. So my teenager life, like many other Iranians in Iran, was like surviving a very terrible 8 years war. I remember waking up every morning, go to school, come home, do homework, and then wait for Iraqi jets and missiles to bomb your city. When I look back, I think it made me stronger who I am today. I was a very good student, but I was a better soccer player. I played for the biggest club in Iran, and I was invited to Iran's national team under 17. I then hosted a sports radio talk show when I was 17 years old. I went to a top university in Iran. After 2 years, I dropped, and I went to Germany. They gave me a scholarship, and to play soccer and study. My brother pushed me to go to U.S. Embassy, and by pure luck, I came here in 1992, right in this town. I didn't speak one word English. I had $700 cash. And I know you don't know the story. The biggest challenge I had, I was in love with the girl back home in Iran, and I thought I'm going to lose her. So I went every day with a bag of quarter to a payphone downtown San Carlos and called her every day. This is 1992. There was no WhatsApp, none of these things today. So the money was gone, and I could have taken a flight back to Germany, and then my parents lived in Germany also. But something was telling me just keep going. I bought a 1973 Chevrolet for 5 payments of $150, and I drove every day for an hour to San Jose, and I washed cars for 10, 11 hours. I think I was the best car washer the world has ever seen. My English improved. Thank you. My English improved, and I landed this job, this yogurt shop right here on the same street on Veterans Boulevard. But something magical happened. One of the nights I was there, I saw an advertising for the Persian rug store in downtown Palo Alto. I called. I they rejected me first. I insisted that they should meet me. The next day I went over there and then hired me as a rug salesman. So this is a rug gallery right in downtown Palo Alto on University Avenue. And again, I became the best rug salesman. I sold, a few years in a row, I sold $2 million worth of rugs. And you as an entrepreneur, you know how hard to get to $2 million ARR. And I became really good at it. And Persian rugs, typically there it comes at Pejman. I bought a home here in this town. I'm looking for a dining room rug. We look at rugs together, and I bring the rugs to your home. By coming to your home, obviously you spend like hour and a half showing these rugs, and you have to start conversation. You just cannot sit for an hour and a half. I realize all of my customers are top venture capitalists and founders of big tech companies. These are the people who, even if you are in tech, it's hard to meet them. John Doerr and Doug Leonis of the world. And I was really in awe in what they do. I always thought businesses are like, you build this and you sell it. I never knew that you can build massive companies, create jobs, create wealth based on knowledge. And I just decided I want to be one of them. I felt I'm just so lucky to have this access. Maybe this is the most important street, the most important time of my life. So I started to ask a lot of questions from these people who I was hanging out with them on barbecue and then ask about what is product market fit, how do you do term sheet, and all of these questions. And I think really credit to Silicon Valley. Nobody judged me. I think these people like opened their arms to me and then educated me. Then I convinced the owner of the rug shop to partner with me to invest in startups, but I didn't have money. And then we started to invest in late 90s. At the time that the only angel investor in town was Ron Conway. We started to make investments, and we made terrible investments. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. But I learned the business day by day, and I knew it was like playing in NBA, but I will never become Steph Curry. I knew I can be the best agent in the league. So I used my network really, really carefully, and I started to do a lot of networking events. None of these things was available. I mean, this was a dream for any founder to come and meet other founders and meet entrepreneurs and meeting investors. So I remember I brought the entire partnership of Sequoia Capital to the rug gallery. I invited 100 founders, mostly from Stanford PhDs, and I put Persian music and Persian food, and people loved it. This was at the time, you remember, venture capitalists were not leaving Sand Hill Road. They were very tied up. It was like Wall Street, very formal, and I broke that somehow. Anyway, fast forward, I ended up investing in some really category-defining companies. I learned the business. I started to craft my strategy, that what type of founders I want to work with, that I ended up investor in companies like Dropbox and Gusto and Garden Health, Lending Club. And around, I made money. I started to do angel investing professionally. Then the idea of Pear came to me in 2009 when I felt there is an opportunity to build an institution to serve founders day zero. It took me 4 years to convince my partner, Mar Hershenson, and then we started Pear in 2013. By the way, we are yin and yang. I funded her company in 2003. I'm a college dropout. She's a Stanford PhD. She started 3 companies and sold successfully. Believe it or not, till today, I never worked for the tech company. It's actually funny whenever I say that. But I had a lot of scars on my body, and I knew entrepreneurs, so we built Pear, and our aim is to build the best seed fund ever existed.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. It's to me, it is, and I've heard hundreds, maybe I've read thousands of stories of entrepreneurs, and you are an entrepreneur, and yours is maybe the most inspiring to me personally. And I think as I hear you talk, I think of people that I know in those similar situations, people who've just come to the country, people who don't really speak English, people who are working just to try to put food on their family's table, and to see how you've really lived the American dream, and you also you're an exceptional talent, and you have been way long before you got to the United States. But it's just we're lucky to sort of be inspired by that. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, thanks so much. I'm actually very lucky. I think this country gave me so much opportunity, people like you. So I'm grateful to be part of this just unbelievable community. And don't forget, not many people in the world have the opportunity we have today here in Silicon Valley. And you have technology in your hand to change society, create jobs, create wealth. So I'm utterly grateful.
What you talked about sort of learning how to invest and figuring that out along the way, but what are those philosophies now? You've got this, Pear's $430+ million fund. What types of people and decisions do you make that cause you to invest?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time to get to know the founders. Why you? Why now? And as a firm, we have this philosophy that we want to back founders who are really close to the problem they're solving. They have deep expertise in a particular market. I think we are looking for opportunities that become really big. At the end of the day, it's okay that things doesn't work today, but when you dream about what you're building, we want to make sure that dream is becoming a really, really big company as a venture capitalist. I think a lot of entrepreneurs start companies that are not venture-backed companies, which is okay. You can always start a company that is not venture-backed, but for venture capitalists, it has to be an outsized return for the investments. We like teams who work together before, I think, or they have history together. Even if you have been playing basketball every weekend for the last 5 years, that's a very good sign for us. We like founders who are paranoid in a very healthy way. So we wake up every morning, you have this vision, but you question the decision you make, and you want to improve. We like captains of the ship. Your customers and your team is above everything else, and you leave last, and you really sacrifice for the members of your team. We like people who can attract talent. It's a combination of those things, and there are some characteristics about the founder that I particularly like, and we can share and we can talk about it later.
How does a founder balance this sort of like vision, I want to build this big thing, versus the practicality of like, I've got to get customers, I've got to get recurring revenue, I've got to, find product market fit. Like, how do you, in the earliest stage when you're looking at investing, like, how do you see the best founders balance those two things?
Yeah, I think just go back to what I said, the captain of the ship, you know the destination, but you take it day by day. I think you need to wake up every morning making sure that ship has enough fuel, which is the capital, you have the right team, and then you have the right passengers, which is your maybe customers over there. The same thing, I think you need to have this long-term vision that where you want to go, but you take it day by day. Many founders, when I ask about the vision, they either talk about financials, like, oh, we want to build a $10 billion company, or we want to, that's not a vision. The vision is like what your product can do for a change, and what is that change? And, I always wake up every morning and I want to meet founders who come and surprise me, and they show me a future I've never seen. These are the moments that, Airbnbs and Ubers of the world are being created.
Maybe we could talk about one of those that you were a part of, and that's Dropbox. What did you see at the early stage? Take us back to...
Yeah, I met Arash. Arash is the co-founder of Dropbox. He was the MIT dropout at that time. And this photo was taken by Drew Houston, which was the co-founder and CEO, but nobody else was in the room.
Selfies weren't invented at the time.
Yes, yeah. And this is Mike Moritz, maybe one of the greatest venture capitalists of all time. He was at that time, he was investor and board member of Google and Yahoo. He just he's actually was knighted by the Queen of England. And this is Dropbox apartment and office in San Francisco. I met them a few days before at Y Combinator demo day, and I was really was looking for that product for myself, and they built something like, amazing. And I talked to Arash and Drew. Arash doesn't talk. Still doesn't talk much, and then I talked to Drew. I found them like they're brilliant, and I knew I can. And at that time, I had a very close relationship with Doug Leone at Sequoia. So I introduced him today. We went Saturday morning to his home, and Monday night, me, Samir Gandhi, who was the partner at Sequoia, and Arash and Drew went to a restaurant in San Francisco, and a piece of napkin we drew I wanted to be part of the deal so they don't kick me out. So I was there for sure. And I paid for the table. So I did everything possibly that I'm part of this deal. So we raised, it was.
Is that a trick to get in a Sequoia
Yeah,
deal?
yeah.
You just pay for lunch?
Well, they're rich enough now, they can bring their own chef. But I think it was $1.2 million and $5 million post-money valuation. It's crazy. And then, the company is a $10 billion public company. And, one of the things it tells you that even at that time, people ask Google, Microsoft, if Apple have the same product, how come two kids can build something that compete with them? But that's the beauty of technology. If you build a product that people absolutely love, you can compete with even with the giants company like Microsoft and Google. And this is 11 years after at the IPO. You can see I'm just so happy.
You kind of look more excited than they do.
Yes, exactly. And this is Arash and Drew. They became billionaires that day. It's actually one of the amazing things about Dropbox. The founders own 30% of the company at the IPO. It's unbelievable that typically founders don't own 30% of the company because they raise money, but the company was making enough money. They didn't need that much capital.
Yeah.
So I think what I want to share with you that what you hear about all this dream we have to build massive big companies, it is possible. I think you can go build companies that millions of people use and build a multi-billion dollars company. It's possible, but you need to pick the right problem and then the right market and build the right team.
Just on that note about equity, what do you advise entrepreneurs in terms of protecting their equity so they have enough to make it to the end of the journey and still, be part of the outcome at the end?
Well, you get diluted as you raise capital. I think the more revenue you have, I think the more healthy growth you have, obviously the valuation of your companies keep growing, so you get less diluted. I think it comes to the point that you need to raise capital, and dilution is part of the matter. And it's okay to get diluted as long as you have the right product, the right team, and the right investors. So I think I don't overanalyze that. Obviously, you don't want to give up too much of your company to investors, but you just want to make sure that you have enough capital and you have the right partner and investors who can help you building a long-lasting company.
To you, this evolves and changes over time, and we're in April of 2024. Is there a right amount or a sort of range right now that you're seeing at the seed stage or the Series A stage that is like, sort of you should be thinking of raising in these kinds of amounts or numbers? Generally, there's outliers, but what do you think is the right amount right now?
I always think it should come from the entrepreneur. I think it should come from you. Typically, we like to see operation plans for 18 to 24 months plus another 6 months buffer on top of it, and then reverse engineering what needs to be done today. I think just throwing numbers to investors is not a good sign. And actually, one of the things we look for early stages, because there's no customer recall, is how you're thinking about fundraising, how you're thinking about your operations plan, who do you want to hire. So these are all telling and is part of our evaluation. So I just don't think you should pick a number because everybody else raising. You should see what are your plans, what you need. And then sometimes companies need a lot more capital than normal seed. Sometimes you don't need as much.
When you invest, do you take board seats? Do you do it passively?
It depends. I think we want to build a relationship with you that having board seat and no board seats doesn't matter. Sometimes we have to take a board seat, but typically at the earliest stages there is no board seat. We just get involved. We meet you twice a week for the first 6 months, and we bring the entire operation to help you. So I think building that trust, even before we invest, is just so important to get to know each other, and can we work with each other for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, yeah, what is your expectation? I mean, Dropbox in some ways feels like, it's somebody that's now been an entrepreneur for 15 years, that now looks fast to me. But, it still took, more than 10 years. What do you think today is, what is the expectation? When you make a seed investment, is it 10, 15 years?
Shorter.
It's shorter now.
It will be a lot shorter.
Yeah.
I actually
How
think
come?
Because of the power of AI, you're able to build products faster. You get customers' feedback faster. You can grow faster, and actually, I think companies will die faster. Today you can build the prototype without having an engineer. and then test it with the customer. Obviously, you need to build an engineering team. This might have taken you 9 months to build that prototype and hiring engineers. So I think you could do these things, and I believe the next wave of a public company would be 5 to 7 years old.
Wow. What do you think about geography, being here versus being in other places? It seems like most of your investments early on were really focused here in the Valley, but has that changed over time, and how do you see it?
Majority of our investments are here. I think we have companies in New York. We have founders who moved to New York. We have some companies in LA, but concentration is here. I think the amount of the talent and know-how infrastructure here is unmatched. If I want to be a movie star, I move to LA. So I think if you want to start a company, I'm not saying you cannot build an amazing companies anywhere else. You could, but the chances of especially hiring here is more than any place else.
And you think post-COVID still holds?
Yes, I actually think at pre-seed and seed, the amount of activity is boiling, and I see people are moving back here because they want to be part of the entire kind of AI revolution. Can you build companies anywhere else in the world? Of course you can.
I mean, one thing that I've been really impressed about Pear over the last few months and last year is your sort of this space that you created in San Francisco. I mean, Pear started as just you and your co-founder, but now it's this huge team, and you have this incredible space where I think a lot of startups work. Tell us about why you did that and what the scale of it is.
Companies are built by people. So I really believe in power of community from early on. And I think if you bring like-minded people, empower them, magic will happen. So the concept of Pear Studio, which we have 2 Pear Studio, one is in San Francisco, 30,000 square feet, 250 desks, and one right here in Menlo Park is like 40 desks, 5,000 square foot, is just building that active and engaged community of tech builders. It's home. We constantly host speaker series, workshop, talks. We invite founders, CEOs, venture capitalists. We're actually doing a hackathon with partnership with OpenAI this Saturday in San Francisco. Over 800 people applied. So I think there is magic when you bring people together, and the entire promise of Pear Studio is building the most active and engaged community of tech builders.
I'm sure you've been through hundreds of difficult moments with some of these companies and trying to help them. When you see startups, early stage startups going through hard times, what kind of advice do you give them about what they do and how they persevere through it?
Well, the first thing you have to ask is why it's not working. Really understand.
Yeah.
I think the best feedback is always come from customers. So I think you need to really, truly understand the customers. Why are not using your product? And reverse engineering and building the product that they want. It always starts with the customer. It ends with customers. And then if the pain is for real, what kind of product you need to build to just really solve that problem for your customers, and having the right team to be able to do it.
Have you seen?
And sometimes the pain is not big enough. People think it's big enough, but it's not big enough.
In what way? Like
I think you think a lot of people in this market are going to use it, but when you get in it, you realize that not many people are going to use it. There are a certain group of people are going to use it, but they're not. The market is not big enough, or their priority is not your product.
Yeah. Do you find that's generally discovered quickly, or that can take months, years to really understand that?
The best founders always do this work before even building a product.
Yeah.
They do a lot of customer discovery, and they really get to the bottom of it, that is this a real pain and can I build it, rather than, okay, let me build the product and go out and see what customers say.
Yeah. Just as we wrap up, like what is the long-term vision of Pear? I mean, it's incredible what you've done, but with this new fund and with this team, like where are you going? Where will Pear be in 5 or 10 years from now?
Well, our goal is to build the best performing seed fund in the world, in the history. But by that I mean being able to be their earliest investor in some iconic tech company. So our dream is like 10 years down the road, we look back and we see more companies like DoorDash and Dropbox and Gusto we have funded. And founders love to work with us, and we have helped them in any way we could have to help them build massive, big companies.
Pejman Nozad, Pear VC, thank you so much
Thank you,
for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.